guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're doing very nice and I'm sending a lot of hugs and positive to all of you. Hi, if you're new, welcome to the channel. I really hope you enjoy the content, and if you do, please do consider subscribing. Today's video is a very interesting one. It's going to be divided in two parts. In part 1, I'm going to give you a few tips and tricks as to how you can start with Greek mythology as a beginner. Sort of give you the big picture as to what you can expect when you get into the Greek mythology world. And in part 2, I'm going to talk about a few books that you can read from the Greek mythology genre as a beginner. Maybe just test out the water, see if this is something you like. I have done this beginner sort of like series with a few things earlier. I did this video where I have talked about how you can start reading Murakami as a beginner, and so many of you guys loved that video, and that helped you to start reading Murakami and figure out whether he's the author for you or not. And I want to do that with as many genres and as many authors as possible, because I feel like there is one perfect book for everybody in this world, and I don't want you to miss out on finding that genre, that author, that book just because you're intimidated as a beginner, or you don't know what to expect, so you're just not starting with it. Which is why today it's Greek mythology, and I have so many other genre videos planned for you guys where I'll tell you how you can start as a beginner and some books that you can read as a beginner in that genre that will help you to get into the genre, that will help you to understand whether it's meant for you or not, and hopefully you will get that perfect book that will make you a reader. For today, let's see if you get a book in the Greek mythology world. Let's begin the video. I have my notes here, that's why I have my phone. I'm not using my phone while shooting, I'm not like that. You have my complete attention. The first thing you can expect from Greek mythology is insane amount of drama. I have read dramatic books. I mean, the genre is drama for the book, and that book does not have that much drama as much as Greek mythology. The entire setup, all of the gods and goddesses and nymphs and half gods and demigods, they're all so knit together but also so different from each other, and so much is going on with insanely strong emotions. And from drama we come to the next 2 points. The biggest 2 things that you can expect from Greek mythology is a power play, including a lot of politics. Greek mythology has a lot of gods. It has the Olympians, it has the Titans, they keep fighting each other. We have kings and queens, we have gods and goddesses, we have the nymphs. There are so many positions in this world that there's always some sort of politics going on as to who is going to marry who, and what will that gain them, or what war is going to take place to beat the other person. Basically a lot of power play, who is the best, who is the biggest, who is the strongest, and a lot of politics, which war, who is the king, all those kind of things. I am not the kind of person who reads a lot of politics because I couldn't care less. I get really bored. But when it is Greek mythology politics and Greek mythology power plays mixed with all of the drama, it is insanely engrossing. The fact that it's all going on between gods and these big characters that you have big pictures of in your mind, and them doing these petty things for power and for politics, it's hilarious and it's intriguing and it's super duper enjoyable. Next point is Greek mythology is filled with triggers, so you must always read trigger warnings before getting into a book. And for anybody who does not know how to find trigger warnings, just type the book name and type trigger warnings in Google, and you will get a list of trigger warnings for that particular book video. Because Greek mythology is filled with essay, Greek mythology is filled with child abuse. It's sort of normalized in that world. Like for the Greek gods and goddesses and stuff, it's a normal thing for them to do. It is unjust, and nobody is saying that it's a good thing even when you're reading the books, but it's a very normal thing for them to do because gods are just like that. But it is not normal for us, is it? Which is why it is very important that you read trigger warnings. There is a lot of pain involved because of these triggers. There is a lot of sadness involved, and there is a lot of cruelty involved. This is also sort of like a part of the package deal. When you are expecting drama and funniness and humor, you have to see the cruelty and the sadness and the painful parts of it, and sometimes it's really painful. But if you're okay with the trigger warnings, we come to the next point, and that is Greek mythology has some of the best character arcs ever. Character arcs means a character starts in a certain way in the beginning of the book, and then you see their journey of growing, of empowerment, or in a bad way when they're becoming villains and they're doing horrible things. Whether it's in a good way or a bad way, the character arcs are beautiful. They will either be insanely empowering or they will be insanely tragic, and you'll be like, you were such a good person, what happened to you, why are you doing random ass shit? Or you'll be like, oh my god, I cannot believe he actually started like like this when the book started, and look at where he is now. Which also brings me to the next point, which is Greek mythology. It may be plot heavy sometimes and the story may be really intriguing and interesting, but usually they are very character driven. You talk about the one character that the book is based on and you get into the depth of it. You see what is happening around them, so obviously the story is there, but it's majorly about how the character is surviving, what they think and what they feel. In all, when you mix up all of these points together, you come to know that Greek mythology is literally one of the best genres when it comes to entertainment. And entertainment for me is sadness, torture, happiness, joy and character arcs, politics, power play all in one. The next point, which is one of the most annoying points, is the gods don't really behave like God. So the kind of image that you and I may have in our minds about what a god is like, that is not what Greek gods are like. They are doing random ass stuff, and most of the time they're doing things that they are not supposed to do, and you would not expect that from a god. So be prepared for that. Don't get into it thinking that because they're gods they're going to be like these heavenly beings. There are very rarely beings in Greek mythology which are heavenly. For example, Hades is one of my favorite. Hades is the ruler of underworld. He's a ruler of hell, but he is one of the best characters that I have read in all of the Greek mythology I have read. And on the other hand, Zeus, who is the king of gods, he sucks. He does a lot of sucky things. Which brings me to the next point. Be ready for Greek mythology to make absolutely no sense to you when you start reading it. It is an entirely different world from our world here. It is an entirely different world from Indian mythology or other mythologies that you may have read. Greek mythology is a whole world in itself, and so weird things happen, unfamiliar things happen, and you won't know the names and you won't know the terms and you won't know the positions, and that is completely normal. That is the enjoyable part, that you're learning about a whole new world. Which brings me to the next point, which is it is usually very research heavy in the beginning when you're starting with Greek mythology. For example, Song of Achilles was my first Greek mythology book, and I had to do a lot of research in the beginning because I did not understand anything that was going on. But if you're starting with the books that I'm going to recommend over here, or if you know any other Greek mythology book that is good for a beginner, you most probably won't have to do like deep research like I did. Who is Zeus? Who is Poseidon? Who are these gods? Who are the goddesses? Who is Artemis? There is a goddess of war, there is a goddess of sensuality, there is a goddess of spring, there are gods and goddesses for literally everything. But the good news is that it gets so much easier if Greek mythology you think is actually meant for you, and it just gets so interesting that you want to do more research, and all of the pieces sort of come together because every Greek mythology book you read, they will have characters from the other book that you have read, and it almost feels like a huge series going on, the series of Greek mythology. So yes, you guys, that was my last tip and that was my last sort of point as to what you can expect from Greek mythology. It is a hell of a world. You definitely should give it a chance. So now I'm going to talk about a few books that will help you to give it a chance. I'm going to start with the first book I read in Greek mythology, and that is Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. Now this is a romance, so it was very easy for me to start reading this book. Also, this one is a very self-sufficient book, which means that you don't have to do a lot of research. All of the names and all of the positions and whatever it is explained within the book, whatever you need to know. So this one does include the Trojan War, which is one of the biggest wars in Greek mythology. That is not the highlight of the book, so you don't get very confused with, wait, what is going on? There's a war, why is the war taking place? It's literally explained in sort of like layman language, and the highlight of the book is the love story between Achilles and Patroclus and their friendship, and so beautifully written. I think this was the best book for me to start with Greek mythology because I just was like, this is beautiful. The love story and the character arcs of Achilles and of Patroclus, it was all mesmerizing, insane. It is one of the best books you can start with. Next we have a very insanely easy book to read, which is Girl Goddess Queen by Bea Fitzgerald. This book is releasing on 20th July. What is the date today? It's 20th July today. That's exciting. So this book actually releases today, and even though it's a thick ass book, though look how pretty, it will take you like 2 seconds to finish this book. Politics is not that insanely difficult to understand. This is the story of the goddess of spring, who in general, if you read about the goddess of spring, Persephone, she's said to be a very like sort of like a dumb or impulsive character, and she does dumb things out of nowhere. But when you read this book, she is a girl, a goddess, a queen, and you see her journey with it. There's also a subplot of romance between Persephone and Hades. Hades has my heart. He is the king of the underworld, and it's just such an engaging and entertaining and amazing book to start with Greek mythology. Once you read this, I am definitely sure you will want to read more Greek mythology. Talking of Persephone and Hades, there is another series that you can give a shot in the Greek mythology world, but this is better for you if you like modern world setup. You are not up for completely ancient stuff and things that don't make sense to you, but you want more of things that are happening in the real world type of a story. Then you can start with this. It is A Touch of Darkness by Scarlet Saint Clair, and then there are 2 more books, The Touch of Ruin and The Touch of Malice, and there is another book coming out. This again is the story of Persephone and Hades, and it is higher on the romance side more than the politics, though as I said, every Greek mythology book will have politics in it, so politics is definitely there. But it's set in the modern world, which makes it very easy to read. It's very spicy, so that is also very interesting to read if you are into spice. I would say that this series is one of the most non-Greek mythology series that you can read, because it's set up in the modern world. There are so many things that it does not give the Greek mythology feel to it, and so I did not enjoy it as much as I wanted to. Plus the first book, it does have a lot of loops that were not closed, because it's an entire series, so I think they're going to be closed in the next few books. But I would suggest you read the first book, see if it is the kind of world building and everything that you enjoy, though it's not heavy on the world building, and then go ahead and read the next 2 books. And the book is Circe by Madeline Miller. After finishing Song of Achilles, I straight up dived into Circe after reading I think 1 or 2 books in the middle, because honestly nobody writes Greek mythology like Madeline Miller. I just wish that she was coming out with another Greek mythology book soon. Even though Greek mythology is not our real world, I think there were sentences and quotes and things that inspired me in my real life also. Circe is basically the story of Circe. From the day that she was born, you get to see everything that she goes through, and she is banished from her own family because she is different from everyone. But you get to see her experiences as a child, and then as she grows up, and what happens after she is banished. And this is one of those character driven books where it's more about the character, less about the story. But Circe is such a powerful and beautiful character that you will fall in love with her. If you just want to read a book that is more like journal entries and you like that type of writing, then this is your book. It is beautiful, it is awesome. And another book like that about another really amazing character in the Greek mythology world, we have Stone Blind by Natalie Hayes. This is Medusa's story, and I think this won the Women's Fiction Prize. This one is a little bit difficult to get into. The words are even more difficult than the words that you read in like the general books that I just talked about in Greek mythology. So it will take you a little bit of time, and you have to do your research, which is why I say that read a few of those books first, and if you like the Greek mythology world, then get into this. Also, even though it says that it's a Medusa's story, it is also about many other characters. It includes all the Greek mythology elements, but Medusa's story in itself is beautiful. Medusa is such a popular character when it comes to Greek mythology. It was so interesting to see a different take on her story. If you want to start with like a popular character and you don't want to get into the research of it, also this has like a glossary in the beginning, and you get to know who is who. You get to see all, like, there's a list of characters, so you will know what you can expect, and it's just a very beautiful book. Last but so not the least, I kept this in the end because I've not read it fully yet. We have the Percy Jackson entire series. Now I have read this first book, which is Lightning Thief, when I was probably in 7th or 8th standard, and then I started reading The Sea of Monsters. The Sea of Monsters, and I got the book from one of my friends, and then I never met her again because we shifted from where we were living, and I never got a chance to meet her again. And then I had her book for the longest time, and then she was so mad at me, and then I gifted her a book, and that's how we resolved our conflict. So there's this whole story behind it. What I mean to say is that that I have read the first 2 books, and I was not a reader when I was a child, when I was a teenager, and even then I think books like Percy Jackson or Melody Towers, they really sucked me into the world, which is why they hold a very special place in my heart. And the reason I could read them as a teenager was because it was just so easy and so engaging, and so many things were going on. This one, though the characters are important, is also very plot heavy. So if you want to get into a plot heavy book, and that is what it takes for you to stay stuck to a book, this series is yours. The only reason I did not recommend it even like in the beginning was because it's an entire series, so you're gonna commit to a lot. But if you're ready for it, go ahead, why not? These were all the recommendations and these were all the tips that I have for you guys. I really hope you enjoyed the video, and I really hope you got at least some information out of it. I'll see you guys again very soon. Bye.